Good morning. You're watching the TMI Show with Ted Rall. That's me and Manila Chan. And playing the role of Manila Chan today is Robby West. He's prettier, so you'll have to get used to that. Manila is out taking care of her newborn daughter, who came into the world 48 hours ago or so. So congratulations, Manila. Hopefully we'll hear from her over the weekend. She's not going to be back Monday, I'm sure. But we are waiting to see how that all goes. I mean, knowing Manila, she's always dying to get back on the air. So I'm sure she'll be back sooner rather than later. Today, please, we just remember that we are always here 10 a.m. Eastern time, giving you a lighter take on the news. We are today going to be talking about that Special Forces soldier who has been charged in the Polymarket Maduro case. Something we don't talk about a lot on this show, or really anywhere else, I think, the Great Salt Lake outside of Salt Lake City. It is in deep trouble. The Trump administration has taken a personal interest in this. We'll get into that. And also, this is very important if you are a young person or you know one. Colorectal cancer cases are rising fast. So we're going to get into all that. Robby, do we have any ads by any chance?
1 second. I will check and see. I bet you we do. One moment here.
Because we often do. On TMI, they tend to come up on the early side of the show.
Yeah, no, we do. 1 second here.
All right.
I actually got one from a brand new sponsor. So this is
no way. I was hoping for coffee.
No, actually, we got healthcare, probably because we're talking about ass cancer today.
Oh, okay. All right. Tuckus cancer it is.
Yeah. So I just dropped it over there in the TMI chat for you.
Okay. All right. Let's do this, and then we will get to the show. Okay. Access Med, powered by Trinova Health, is a revolutionary telehealth service that offers fast, free online evaluations and free home delivery of customized compounded medications, offering custom weight loss support, ivermectin therapy, hair restoration, cosmetic rejuvenation, custom ED treatments, and more. You can complete your visit in less than 10 minutes, and there's no subscriptions or recurring fees ever. We've made getting started easier than ever. Simply follow the link, choose the product or treatment you're interested in, then complete a quick online evaluation. Within days, your custom meds will arrive to your door. Mention Rumble in the coupon code and get 10% off your first treatment. All right.
We've got to sell Manila on Rumble Studio because I'm comparing the video quality right now for TMI versus deprogram.
Yeah.
It's a night and day difference.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, it's not like this is garbage. But this is like maybe, what do you think, 2001? And the other one is definitely 2026.
Well, it's because you stream over to X. X compresses the feed, so them grabbing over from X, we're broadcasting over here, so that way StreamYard can play with it. And it's just a steaming pile of garbage.
The problem is I can't have two Rumble rooms prepared in advance at the same time is the problem, right? StreamYard allows you to do that.
Well, no, because what would happen is that either me or Manila would run the Rumble Studio over. Yeah. So basically, we just have to flip-flop it.
Yeah, for sure.
But when Manila's back, it's a non-issue. We just got to sell her on it. And she's a stubborn Asian woman.
Oh, my gosh.
Who is resistant to change, even if the change is a good thing. Listen, I'm the conservative of the show, and I'm easier to talk stuff into than she is. Which
That's true.
Breaks my brain.
Yeah, no, it's totally true. By the way, if you missed us yesterday, DMZ America podcast is now up on YouTube and Rumble. It was a good interview with Mississippi editorial cartoonist Marshall Ramsey, and I think you'll find it enjoyable. So you might want to check that out. All right, so shall we just get to it?
Yeah, let's just do it. And I don't think we even need to read the whole stories. Just kind of just do the bullet points like we do on deprogram and just blast through.
All right, so let's do it that way. Okay, so Robby, I'm sure I know you know about this because we just talked about it on Deprogram. But anyway, a U.S. Special Forces soldier named Gannon Ken Van Dyke was part of the operation to capture Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro back in January. He has been charged by the government with using classified information about the mission in order to win $400,000 or more on Polymarket. He's been charged with unlawful use of confidential government information for personal gain, theft of non-public government information, commodities fraud, wire fraud, and making an unlawful monetary transaction. So basically, on December 8th of last year, he was brought into the loop. And even though he signed some NDAs saying, I won't say anything about this, he made, according to the government, this is allegedly, he's still innocent until proven guilty. The prosecutors say that he used the information to go on Polymarket and bet that Maduro would be out of power by January 31st, which of course he was. So Polymarket's one of the biggest prediction markets in the country and in the world, and you could pretty much do anything you want. It's not really insiders trading because it's not a securities, but there is nevertheless, the Commodities Futures Trading Commission has also filed a complaint against him. I suspect that they will have more trouble. They're just larding up the charges against him. Anyway, according to the complaint, Van Dyke moved $35,000 from his personal bank account into a crypto account back on December 26th. Then he used $32,500 to make a series of bets about the Maduro removal. The bets took place kind of over New Year's weekend between December 30th and January 2nd, just hours before the first missiles began raining down on Caracas. On January 3rd, of course, Venezuelan leader had been captured. According to the DOJ, he made Van Dyke made about $404,000, or a little bit more than that, on these bets. He also bet on some other Venezuela stuff, and he got about $5,000 from those bets. I guess they're smaller. And apparently, when NPR reported that they were looking into these suspicious spikes in activity on Polymarket surrounding the Maduro case, he got really nervous, Van Dyke did, and allegedly went into, asked Polymarket to take down his account, to close his account. Dude, that's not going to help you.
No. They just write it out.
Now, interestingly, Polymarket, there's some details to know about. They deal in crypto, so there should be some anonymity. And if he had used an anonymous email account, he probably would have had it. Also, they're not based in the United States, so they kind of don't have to cooperate with the United States legally, but they do anyway. And I think one of the main reasons here is that Don Trump Jr. is on the board. So obviously, they kind of feel like, well, we have to make nice with the U.S. We don't want to have them draw a bead on us. We want to be in the good graces of the Trump administration. So there's a lot of layers to this story.
Well, I don't see what the crime is. I mean, honestly, if they're going to go after this guy, they should go after 3/4 of Congress. Honest to God, I mean, what did he do that was wrong? He used information that he had. He wasn't selling stock. He made a bet on a betting platform. He made money. So what? Who cares? Where's the crime? What did he do that was wrong?
I knew you were going to say that. Well, I don't know why I knew you were going to say that.
Well, no, I mean, seriously, if Nancy Pelosi and her dad and her husband can make millions of dollars off of privileged information that they get every single day from Congress, then why in the hell can't some schmuck who serves in the military do the exact same thing when he is not defrauding a single soul?
Well, he is actually defrauding. So here's the thing, right? Like,
but if you're gambling, the house always wins. The problem is he beat the house. That's the issue here. And I have no problem with the house getting a spanking.
Well, it also disadvantages the people who bet the other way too, right?
But he can only do it once. I mean, how many raids is he going to be going on? Like, he's going to say, okay, I know that on March 20th, we are going to try and assassinate Vladimir Putin at his private villa outside of Moscow using a Yuki drone. And he's not involved in all this stuff, right? He's going to do it once. And I got to say, more power to him. Honest to God.
That's going to be probably his defense, is that it's a pretty much a victimless crime, although it's not really a good defense because the fact is this stuff is still against the law, right? Victimless or not.
Okay, well then use the Nancy Pelosi defense.
So this is kind of like insurance fraud, right? So where things get tricky is, let's say it's a health insurance company and you make a false claim. It's like, okay, so the health insurance company is going to say, because you did that, you're making everyone else's rates go up. The counter argument here is, well, you don't have to. You could just reduce your profits and take the hit, right? The Polymarket company is going to say the same thing. They're going to say like, well, because you made this bet, you defrauded the people who bet against, who bet the other way. You reduced the earnings of people in other aspects of the marketplace.
Well,
you
not
corrupted
necessarily
the marketplace and you made it untrustworthy.
Not necessarily. I mean, raids get canceled all the time. Military actions get canceled all the time. I mean, that happens. Could have been a snow. It could have been a storm. Maduro could have had a visit from the Virgin Mary saying, "Okay, you may want to play nice with the orange pig. You may want to do this." I mean, look, it's not a surefire thing. And as far as the insurance companies, as the pro Luigi right winger on the show, anytime an insurance company can get it up every single orifice, preferably with a spiked cactus, again, you're not hurting my feelings with this. And as far as Polymarket goes, they're kind of like Give, Send, Go or GoFundMe. They get their profits off of a percentage of the bets that go in. They're making their money anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can entirely disagree with you here. Really, look. I think, a bet. If the sense is that if the fix is in, then people are gonna stop betting. Are going to stop betting, and I think that's basically the threat is to Polymarket. It's sort of like, Shoeless Joe Jackson, right? The Chicago Black Sox scandal of 1919. Does it really matter if you have the inside fix? It's kind of nebulous. It's hard to mentally grasp exactly why it's bad to other people, but it is. To the extent that, of course, betting is bad too, right? My bigger concern here is that we already have people, so many Americans are addicted to gambling. So many people are addicted to online gambling. And now we have this platform that allows that's not regulated within the United States, that allows people to bet on literally anything and everything. We're going to see a lot of people lose everything they own.
To ban the platform, problem solved.
You can't ban it because it's not in the U.S. I guess you could block it.
Oh, you could 100%. Yeah, listen.
The Iranians blocked the entire internet right now.
Well, Rumble's blocked in 8 different countries?
Yeah, RT.
So,
and Sputnik is blocked in a bunch of European countries.
Yeah, so let's not pretend that the internet can't be throttled. 100% can.
Yeah, true.
No, listen, at the end of the day, if you're going to go into a casino, you should go in with the expectation of losing money. If someone goes in, if they have an ace up their sleeve and they're able to play it and they're able to beat the house, go with God. I have no problem with it at all. None.
Yeah, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. Hamhawk 30, thanks for the $5. This battle speculation is an American tradition since George Washington.
100%. There's nothing more American than trying to make money. And if you go into dead serious, you've been here. How many casinos did you see around my house? There's a ton of them. There's a crap ton of them. Mm-hmm. If you go into a casino and you expect to make money, you are a fool.
I know. I remember my in-laws were inveterate gamblers, Taiwanese. Asian people love to gamble. And I remember we were all in the family van driving toward Vegas, and my mother-in-law, who loved to gamble, she's like, I love to go to Vegas so I can win. And, my ex and I were both laughing at her because more often than not, she didn't. Sure. And I remember my ex pointing to the skyline as we got closer, and she's like, look at all these billions of dollars of architecture. Look at all these buildings. Look at all these casinos. If you could win on average in the aggregate Do you think all these buildings would be standing? Do you think they were built because they're in the business of giving money away? And yeah, I always think of that.
No, for sure. And Hines just asked me a question over on YouTube. Robby, isn't it illegal under church scriptures gambling? The answer is yes, because the Bible has a lot to say about what it calls the simple man. And someone who's simple, they're not stupid, they're not evil. It's just someone who just doesn't know any better. They're inexperienced, whatever. And if you go in to go gamble, you can lose everything. And so it's not so much that's illegal. It's just that the Bible has very strong prohibitions about it, because at the end of the day, it is a net harm to you and also to the society. And it's best just not to have it. But if we're going to have it,
gambling should be illegal. I mean, really, truly.
I completely agree. But if it's not,
there's no benefit to society at all.
No, 100%. There's no benefit to it. It's like alcohol or
it's
drugs.
Disgusting. Yeah.
I mean, no, what's the benefit? It's nothing. It's a social pathogen, but yet we've decided to live with it as a society.
Yeah. The best defense would be like, well, it's fun for some people, the ones who don't lose everything. Okay. Well, lots of things are fun, but there's still no reason for society to allow it. Yeah. It's purely due to the profit incentive, and that's it.
It's just like OnlyFans. If you're going to go in, if you're going to be going to a Polymarket, if you're going to be gambling, or if you're going to be whoring yourself out online, you have to realize you're the merchandise. You are. And as soon as you're used up, you will be discarded.
True. That is true. All right. Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. At its peak, the Great Salt Lake outside of Salt Lake City, which is, of course, the capital of Utah, used to be bigger than the entire state of Delaware. It covered 2,300 square miles. And of course, it had a real ecosystem. And it was the main reason that Utah claimed to have the greatest snow on earth. Probably, I don't get that. What does the greatest snow on earth have to do with Salt Lake City? I don't know. Okay. Anyway, now there's been a severe water shortage caused by too much water consumption and not enough winter. And it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. They call it Utah's environmental nuclear bomb. And now Donald Trump is paying attention. Very important to save the Great Salt Lake in Utah. This is an environmental hazard that must be worked on immediately. It is of tremendous interest to me, Trump wrote on February 21st on Truth Social. He ended the post with a twist on his trademark slogan, "Make the lake great again." So the survival of Great Salt Lake, the largest of its kind in the Western Hemisphere, has long been a priority for Utah leaders, but that is not something they're going to be able to handle on their own. So they're reaching out to the federal government for help. If we're able to pull off this saline lake rescue, it will be a world first, and we'll get into that, according to Ben Abbott, ecology professor at Brigham Young University. So what was once water is now 1,000 square miles of exposed lake bed. The parched playa is full of heavy metals and toxins like arsenic that pose serious respiratory health risks to about the 2.5 million people who live nearby. The toxic dust floats over to neighboring states like Wyoming and Idaho during strong wind events. It's a major source of fertilizer used to grow tree nuts. Critical minerals like lithium and magnesium are mined from the lake. And its waters have 50% of the world's brine shrimp supply, which is the main protein source for farmed fish and shrimp that are consumed at restaurants and dining tables around the world. Millions of migratory birds go there every year. It supports a huge ecosystem that's been bound to collapse because it doesn't maintain enough water level. Now, most of the water comes from snowpack. During low snow years, and this was the worst snowfall on record this past winter, the lake suffers even more. Water from 3 tributaries that feed into the Great Salt Lake is often diverted for irrigation and other purposes before it ever gets to the lake. So to stop the lake's decline and try to begin recovery, the ecologist said that the Great Salt Lake needs about 500 to 800,000 acre feet of water every year. If the goal is to return the Great Salt Lake to what it used to be, they think that roughly 1 million acre feet of water a year must be added to the lake, and it's highly doubtful. I don't know where they're going to get it, but the main impetus here appears to be trying to make getting Salt Lake City ready for the 2034 Winter Olympics, which are due to be hosted by Salt Lake City. And the idea is, well, it's going to look really bad when 8 years from now, you have people come from all over the world and they're in this blighted, horrible place. Robby, this reminds me a lot of the Aral Sea disaster. Are you familiar?
I am not.
So the Aral Sea is like the Great Salt Lake. It is an inland ocean between Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan in former Soviet Central Asia. And for a long time, during the 1950s, 60s, 70s, Soviet agronomists were pulling too much water out to irrigate cotton fields and wheat fields, trying to turn Central Asia into one of the breadbaskets of the former Soviet Union. They pulled so much water out of there that, in fact, there's some really famous photos online of like tanker ships like out in the middle of the desert, like 50 miles from the current coastline. So basically,
Wow.
The lake is dying. The lake has sunk to a very, very low level, and because of the amount of salt remains the same, but the amount of water is lower. The fish that were in there, of course, can't make it because the saline concentration of the lake is so high. All the areas, just like in Great Salt Lake, that have been exposed to the wind, are full of like mineral deposits that used to be in the water and were contained. Now, every time it's windy, it blows around. Cancer rates are off the charts in northern Uzbekistan and in western Kazakhstan as a result. It's a major environmental catastrophe. Adding to the fun, there's an island whose name starts with Z, and a lot of people just call it like Zod Island or Zov Island. It used to be in the middle of the lake, which is divided between the Uzbek-Kazakh border runs between them. This island was in the middle, and during the Cold War, it was a biochemical research facility for the USSR. And there are rats that have anthrax that sort of are running around that. Well, now there's a land bridge from the island to Kazakhstan proper. So anthrax infected rats are now running around Central Asia. So it's a fucking catastrophe of epic proportions, right?
Yeah, you can't fix that.
No, you ironically, there is a possible kind of mitigation, but not really a fix, which is Lake Sarez, which I've talked about. Yeah. So Lake Sarez is up in eastern Tajikistan, and it's got this. Basically, it's a 14,000 feet high natural lake created by a natural dam.
That's the one to worry about flooding.
So when the dam bursts, and it will, a wall of water will cascade through the river canyons through 5 nations before it starts out 1,000 feet high, before petering out, wait for it, in the Aral Sea. So so all the water, so they might get some water, but it's not really the way you want them to get it. And I don't really think it'll solve the problem. I think it'll just create a whole new set, not to mention it'll kill 1 million people or more. And it'll salinate it'll destroy and silt up the arable land that currently feeds like 40 million Central Asians. It'll be the biggest natural disaster in human history. So it's one shit show after another. The point is, you can't really Great Salt Lake has been allowed to go to shit for way too long. I'm not sure it's reversible. I mean, where are they going to get it from? The Colorado River? I mean, the Colorado River doesn't have enough water left. I mean, the point is, too many people live in the Western United States. And probably if we had a socialist society, we'd be like, we're going to forcibly remove you. You have to go live somewhere where there's water. We have to, kick out 9/10 of the population of Arizona. You guys can't live here anymore. You can't live in Phoenix. You can't have millions of people here. But we're just sort of like, we just keep on keeping on and hope for the best. But the best is not what's going to happen here.
Well, hope isn't a plan. And this is the kind of climate change that you and me completely agree on, because this is 100% human made by human stupidity.
Totally.
I mean, I don't understand why you try to irrigate land in a desert. I mean, to me, that does not make any sense at all. I don't.
People are not supposed to live there.
No, for sure.
That's just how it is.
No, it's insane.
Like Phoenix should be like, like these little towns in the middle of the desert in Nevada, where it's like a trailer, last chance for gas, 300 miles. You pay your $15 a gallon, you get your gas, and there's like old man Grumpus lives there, and he gives you your gas, and you're on your way. And that should be it. That's the only people who ought to live in Phoenix.
No, I completely agree. And the people who live in these big old cities, and this is the same for Arizona, Utah, New Mexico, California. If you want to live there, if you want to live in a place like that, then you should be treated like the data centers. They're sucking up all the resources. You should pay out the nose and have no subsidies at all from normal people who don't live there. It is not my responsibility to provide you with electricity or water from Montana down there to central
they should
California.
They should be working on desalination plants, really, in California, if they're going to live there. And that should be on their own dime.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's just, this is a place where I can get on board 100% with Commie Ted. If you're going to live there, inshallah. What else can I say?
It's on you. The thing is, the problem with the Great Salt Lake, though, is, look, as usual with many things with Donald Trump, he's kind of like trying to do the right thing for the wrong reasons. He's just more about like the financial grift and the Olympics and all that. But whatever. The point is, it's about time someone's actually paying attention to this issue. But, as I alluded when I was reading the article, there's migratory birds. There's all sorts of impacts that range throughout the entire United States from this lake getting fucked up like this. And by the way, Salt Lake City is growing way too fast too. Here's a bigger question, Robby. This is a human nature question. Yeah. I don't understand how, as a society, we can sort of communally ignore giant problems that everybody knows is happening. You can't have lived in Salt Lake City as many hundreds of thousands of people have for years, for decades. And you notice the lake receding and you don't think, this is a problem. We got to take this seriously. You just keep on keeping on. How can you be in denial about something like that? It's sort of like, I don't know. It's like I had a relative who worked in the ER. She told me a guy came in and he's like, out of an abundance of caution, I thought I'd come in because I kind of I feel like my junk isn't really quite right. And the guy goes, and she's like, what do you mean? He's like, it's generally okay. I'm just not sure. So she's like, all right, well, let's see, take off your pants. So he had like dick rot, and basically he had gangrene in his dick, and it was barely hanging on by like a thread of flesh, and it was about to fall off. It was full out gangrene, had been going on probably for well over a year. The guy was like, I'm sure he came close to death because, the infection, had to be in deep shit. And he was sort of like, obviously every single day that guy like pissed and like lived his life and took showers presumably and thought like, okay, yeah, it's not perfect, but okay, I'm good. We're all living like guys whose dicks are rotting off. What the fuck?
To be honest with you, I think what it just comes down to is that a lot of people are very prideful, and they think that no matter what the problem is, we can solve it. We are the masters of our own fate. We are the masters of our own destiny. We can do whatever it is that we want. And we don't, and people don't have the humility that nature requires. I think that's really what this comes down to. It's just like, if I was made dictator, the first thing I would do is I would end all irrigation to all these places, like around the Colorado River, the places we're talking about right now. I would end it. That would go a long way towards restoring the water flow into the lake, because
Agreed.
The water flow is being restored to the lake. You don't have the right to destroy the place in which you live.
No, You really don't.
And if you're going to do that, if that's the kind of life that you want to live, that's fine, but you're not going to do it at the expense of everyone else in the country. You can go someplace else. If you want, listen, if you want to have that kind of life, go live in Egypt. Go set yourself up. Go live in Cairo. If you want to have that nice desert view with with the pyramids and just have the stunning sunset over the dunes, Egypt is the place for you.
Well,
Utah,
I do think we should have a national. I mean, I know this would go against your states' rights vibe, but I do think there should be some kind of national control where we just decide there's some places that, there's a population peak. Like there's, like we cap the population. And I would say Utah is one of those places. Like only X number of people roughly is allowed to live in Utah, and beyond that, like, no, you're not allowed to, I want to move from, Montana to Utah. Like Utah's full up.
No, it's the same thing. It's just like in Eastern Montana, you'll never have big cities in Eastern Montana because there simply isn't the infrastructure there to support it. You would have to completely try to geoengineer something to make it work. It doesn't exist. Like you're not going to be able to build a Denver, Colorado in the Badlands of Eastern Montana. It's the same thing with the Denver with the Platte River. They've ruined the river. It's the same thing with the North Platte there in Nebraska.
All right.
You don't have the right. You do not have the right to destroy the place in which you live.
Couldn't possibly agree more. We have one more story. And by the way, just a reminder, if you have any random questions or not random questions for either Robby or myself, and you're watching live on YouTube or Rumble, please pop them in and we will get to them. Let's see. Okay. All right. So there's the worrisome rise in colorectal cancer deaths in younger adults is concentrated in people with less education, suggesting that socioeconomic factors are driving the escalation. That, according to a new study. Celebrity deaths, including Chadwick Boseman in 2020 and James Van Der Beek earlier this year, I have to admit I don't have any idea who those people are, have highlighted the increase in colorectal cancer deaths among younger adults. But the new paper was called "The First to Parse Which People Are Most Affected by the Rise." Researchers found that over the last 30 years, the rise in colorectal cancer deaths in young adults occurred almost entirely among people without a 4-year degree from college. Of course, getting a college degree doesn't protect you from colon cancer, but it's a marker for other issues. If you don't have a degree, you're probably likely to earn less money. You might not have as good a diet. You might exercise less, and you might get less medical care on average. Okay, not universally. It's not totally unexpected that the death risk is concentrated in these demographics, but the new paper published in JAMA Oncology is the first national study to show the connection. That, according to Dr. Paolo Bofetta from Stony Brook Cancer Center in New York. Research has identified a number of factors associated with rising rates of colorectal cancer among young people, including diet, but there's no single answer that explains the whole thing. The American Cancer Society researchers used government data on more than 100,000 young adults aged 25 to 49 who died of colorectal cancer between 1994 and 2023. Overall, the death rate rose from about 3 per 100,000 to about 4 per 100,000. But for people who only made it through high school, that goes from 4 to 5.2 per 100,000. And for people with at least a bachelor's degree, did not change and remained steady at 2.7 per 100,000. Ahmadine Jamal, the first author of the study, says that we need more public awareness about colorectal cancer and for young people to get screened. So what to look for? Blood in your stool or rectal bleeding. Changes in bowel habits, like suddenly you start getting diarrhea or constipation when you didn't used to have it, or narrowing of stool. I'm reading that as like skinny poo.
Yeah, skinny poop, like Lincoln Law poop.
For more than a few days. Unintended weight loss, cramps, abdominal pain. According to the Cancer Society, more than 158,000 people will be diagnosed in the United States of colorectal cancer this year. It's the nation's second leading cancer killer, right behind lung cancer, and it will kill about 55,000 Americans this year. So it's pretty serious.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And like most things, it goes back to the economy. It's, the fact is that people who are poor eat a lot of garbage. They eat a lot of junk because that's really all they can afford. The fact that real food costs so much more than the processed garbage that you get at a grocery store should have been Robert Kennedy's number one priority whenever he came in. Is it Robert Kennedy? Who the hell is it that's Trump's health czar?
Oh, it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So I was thinking about his dad. I was like, hold on, is he dead? No, I'm not. I just need more coffee.
No.
I need more 17.
He hasn't been assassinated yet.
Give him time. But that should have been his number one priority, apart from anything else, is fixing the food supply.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, I think he's super. I'd be really. What do you think? Obviously, that is his priority, right? He cares deeply about this, but he's not making much headway. Or if he is, we're not hearing about it. How much pressure do you think he's coming under from big food and people who are, have Trump's ear?
I'm sure a lot, but at the end of the day, though, that is his job. If you're going to listen, I think that you can pin this on two major things, and capitalism is the problem for both. If you have a healthcare system that is focused around treating symptoms and not treating problems, the last thing that you want to do is have a healthy population. And
True.
if your profit motive is to make cheap food with as much profit as you possibly can, the last thing you want is healthy food that people are able to buy that's going to cut into your profits. Both of those things are true, and I point those things out to fellow right-wingers, and they look at me like I'm a communist, which is insane because
we'll get you there, Robby.
Well, it's just completely insane because you're advocating a sicker population while you're trying to maintain a global empire.
Yeah, and a sicker population means lower productivity, which means lower profits for our corporate owning class.
Yeah, for sure. But if you're replacing stuff with AI and automation and immigration, what do you care about sick population? You don't.
True.
So, all these things going together, it all goes back to the economy and the way that the economy works. That's one of the reasons why I say over and over and over again, if you're able to go to your local farmer's market and get real food.
Mm-hmm.
Does it cost more? Yes. But it costs less than a hospital bill does.
It also, the thing is, you need less of it to feel full.
Yep, for sure. And over on YouTube, My Fabs has a question for you, Ted. Hey, Ted, what are your thoughts on the CIA agents killed in northern Mexico? Mexican government was not aware these CIA agents were in Mexico.
Well, so for the record, right, these were two guys who were, when I first heard this, I was like, wait, they were killed on mission, and they were on assignment there, but they died in a car accident, right? So it's kind of like a lot of people don't realize of the 58,000 American troops who died in Vietnam, only 48,000 died in combat. And of the remaining 10,000, a lot of them died in car accidents. So, that is a way to go. You're still officially considered to have died in the war, but it's not the same thing. I wasn't really aware of the fact that the CIA was so deeply integrated. I'm assuming these are anti-cartel, joint operations by the Mexican and U.S. government working against the cartels, and that the CIA is providing their assistance to the federales in Mexico. What do you think, Robby?
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is. I'm sure that they're down there trying to assist the Mexican police with their efforts against the drug cartels.
So even though Trump likes to talk a lot of shit about the Mexicans, yeah.
Well, in fairness, so do I. They're easy to talk shit about.
In honor of Fun Friday, Manchild says researchers found that cocaine polluting rivers and lakes make salmon swim 1.9 times further than their clean living counterparts.
I could see it.
Well, it's a stimulant. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
Yeah, when I used to work at this Japanese bank, and one of our clients was Universal Fasteners, which basically they made non-zipper clothing clasps, so hooks, clasps, clips, buttons, that kind of thing. And we in my bank financed they decided to buy YKK. You probably looked, sometimes you see the letter YKK on your zipper on your clothes. That's a Japanese company, YKK Corporation. So it kind of makes sense. It was a perfect form of leverage, right? Like when fashion is more zipper oriented, non-zipper fasteners kind of go up and vice versa. So the merger made sense. Anyway, so YKK bought Universal Fasteners is how it worked. I don't know if I was clear on that. So Universal Fasteners was based in Tennessee, and their predecessor company had been dumping mercury into the Tennessee River for years.
Well, that's awesome.
So now I will say this is one of the rare times when working for a giant corporation didn't make me think that giant corporations are always evil. The YKK said, we want to clean up the Tennessee River. We will take full responsibility. So as we need your help. So as the bankers, we went down to the Tennessee River and met with local environmental experts to try to talk to them about how to mitigate this. And and as part of their presentation, they brought a tank full of double-headed fish and mutant frogs that were from the Tennessee River to just show how bad the mercury contamination had become. And the point is, there's a lot of crap in our waterways, and Americans don't give that a lot of thought.
Because most people just aren't. They're just not aware of the issues. I mean, they aren't. I mean, most people, they just go about their days and they just assume that the water that you get out of the tap is good water, and that the food that you get from Walmart is good, nutritious. Because if you're focusing just on surviving, you don't have the ability to focus on big picture things.
No, you don't.
And that's one of the reasons why I think our government pushes down so hard against the population, is because the last thing that you would want is for the population to realize, not only do we not like you, not only do we hate you, but we are actively trying to kill you for profit.
True. That is true.
And if people are ever able to figure that out, I don't know what it would look like, but it would be a different country overnight.
It would be. So let's see. And so let's see. I think there was like one more question here. Oh yeah, Mr. A. Lee. The lowest plateau in China was turned into ESRT. I don't know what that means. Desert must be. From hundreds of years of farming, the government rehabilitated it and is now green and flourishing. China, man, they know how to do shit.
I mean, listen, now, if we're talking about what country would I live in if I ever left the United States, I mean, China is up there on the list.
Well, yeah, it'd be nice to live in a country where things are actually improving and where they're ambitious and they identify and they fix problems and throw money at it. Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah. And I mean, would I agree with their politics? Not necessarily, but would I like for my son to be able to grow up and not get drafted to go fight in Israel's wars, maybe have a chance to get married, have kids, and live in a ordered society where crime isn't rampant, hordes of methed out zombies walking downtown Shanghai? Yeah, I think that would be I think that would be good.
Robby, I had a piece that I've been playing with. You probably saw it in the rundown. Since we have a few minutes left, I'm gonna hit you up on this. This is a Robby special. Okay. So the scriptural passage that Trump read on Tuesday in his live streamed Bible reading marathon dates back to the depiction of an ancient event, but it's one that carries a highly charged significance in the current religious and political climate. It has long been quoted and promoted by those who believe America was founded as a Christian nation and ought to be one. It is the 7th chapter of the Second Chronicles, a book in the Hebrew Old Testament portion of the Bible. The 14th verse, the one most often quoted, says, "If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land." What is the significance of that? You are obviously a student of the Bible.
Yeah, it's about the Second Chronicles chapter 7, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Verse 14.
Mm-hmm.
Just pulling it up here. Just one moment here, because whenever we're talking about Bible verses, I always like to make sure that I have the full context because it's important.
Mm.
So verse 13 is where you got to start to really get the context.
Mm.
So where it starts off as is, if I shut up heaven that there be no rain, or if I command the locusts to devour the land, or if I send pestilence among my people, then verse 13 starts. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Then verse 15, now mine eyes shall be opened, my ears attend unto the prayer that is made in this place. So this is one of the reasons why, as a Christian, I'm so adamant about abortion and the violence and stuff that's going on, because it's not really so much about with the prosperity gospel now, right? But if you are a Christian fundamentalist like what I am, you believe that God is a God of justice and that the Lord will punish people, but he also punishes nations for their sins. So individually and corporately. And so if you go and if you read this in context, the whole reason what God's talking about here is that if a nation, in this case Israel, embraces violence, goes apostate, starts worshiping other gods, then God will punish that nation with plagues and wars and other things, and that pain will continue until the people repent and turn back to him.
Mm-hmm.
So modern Christianity teaches that God is not the author of evil, that God did not create evil. The Bible specifically says that God is the author of good and evil. The Bible says, is there evil in the city and the Lord hath not done it? So this all just comes down to the fact that God will punish a nation and will punish a nation severely, and the people of that nation severely, for violating his laws.
Now, it's not read that way, right? Like by a lot of people on the right, they kind of read it as like the United States can do whatever the fuck it wants, right?
Yeah, well, that's because they're taking it out of context. Scripture never stands alone. You always got to have the context about whatever it is that you're looking at. One of the reasons why I am so opposed to what the United States government does is because me as a Christian, I believe that there is a divine judge in heaven who is watching what the United States does, who watches the violence that this country perpetrates, both on its own population and around the world, and that this innocent blood calls out for justice. And that scares the hell out of me, because the last thing I want is for God to judge this nation, because he will. The atheists will mock at that. They'll scoff at it. But I firmly believe this. And that's one of my dreads is that the Lord is long suffering, but he's not eternally suffering. And judgment starts at the house of God. It starts at the church. As more and more churches go apostate, as there's fewer pastors and more churches start to embrace wokeism and this fake Christianity, that's just a sign of the curse to come.
What did you think of? What did you make of Trump's Bible-a-thon on Tuesday?
Why any Christian would ever listen to that buffoon after the way he mocked our Lord and Savior is beyond me. And
you're talking about the AI thing.
Yeah. If you're going to depict yourself as Jesus and you're going to mock my religion, if you're going to mock my God, I've got nothing but contempt for you.
But he wasn't Jesus. He was a doctor, for the Red Cross.
Yeah, sure he was. And May Blue Funky, thank you for the $5. Guys, off topic, dumb question. Is Russia the shadow of the Anglo man? What is the obsession with anti-Russia vibes? I think the Russians are a mirror to the Anglos, and they hate it, if that makes sense. I think it's because Russia has returned to Christianity. And if you're in the West and if you're wrapped up in thinking that you're God, you're able to just wrap yourself in the rainbow flag and mass abortions and able to go and kill people for profit on an industrial scale. And then you see a country that returns to its roots and says, actually, you're not God. You can't do this. It's a slap in the face. And I think that's what it is.
Really?
Oh, for sure. 100%.
All right. I think that seems like a good place to leave it. Little pre-weekend fire and brimstone, hellfire and brimstone. All right. And thanks everyone for tuning into the TMI show. Manila Chan will be back when she's back. Robby will be filling in. Maybe we'll ask Scott to fill in at some point. But basically expect it'll be me and Robby until Manila gets back. We'll keep you posted about her, but she's doing great by all accounts. And we will see you Monday. Stay tuned for Deprogram Monday morning at 9 a.m. TMI back at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Thanks, you guys. Thanks, Robby.
Of course.
All right. Let's see. Let me click the right thing here. Don't want to screw up like I always do.
Click the button.
No. Okay, here we go. Oh, my God.